I'm good.
When you construct your lineup for next year, just in your head, without naming names, how important will it how important will it
B, to have.
right-left balance? You did that a lot.
Yeah,
Do you think that'll still be a priority?
I think so. You know, especially when Harp gets healthy again, and to make sure that we're giving at least a little bit of space between him and Schwarb, because that's really, especially against the teams that are heavy left-handed coming out of the bullpen.
Adjacent to Matt's question, I know it's a long way away. Have you given any thought to continuing to have Schwarber lead off?
I have. It depends on who we have on the club. But he likes leading off. He was really good at it. But, you know, if we make some moves, we could change the lineup around.
I think you said you talked to Stott soon after the series ended, and without naming names again, if he were to move over to second base this season, how do you think he profiles there defensively?
Really good. I mean, we saw glimpses of it last year when Segi was hurt, and he was a plus defender at second base in my mind, and really looked comfortable there, understands the position, understands backup responsibilities, all those little things. I think he'll be an outstanding second baseman. I really do.
Rob, any concerns with the World Baseball Classic?
No, not really. You know, as long as they don't get hurt, you know. But I kind of, in a way, I kind of like it because it gets those guys geared up in spring training a little bit quicker. It gets them into a competitive atmosphere a little bit earlier, and in a lot of ways, I think it helps guys.
Have you heard anything related to pitchers going to WBC? You have some position guys, but
Yeah, I have not. No, I have not. That's a little trickier for me than the position players, but it is what it is, and you know, you can't hold them back. Yeah, I think, you know, for me, pitchers need to pitch, and I think although you monitor it and it's constant conversation during spring training, I think you start them off just like you normally would, because by the time you get to opening day, they still have to be maxed out and ready to go. I mean, as you saw last year when we had a couple of guys, because of the shorter spring and some sickness, it taxed our bullpen early when we had to make up innings for the starters that were backed up. So I think it's important that we get those guys at least really close to where they normally are. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they'll start ramping up probably after Christmas. And yeah, I think, you know, maybe the first couple of outings where they'd have actual starts in the spring training game, maybe that's on a backfield to take a little tension off. But my plan is for them to be ready to go full bore or close to it when the season starts.
If Andrew Painter were to make the team out of spring training, have you given any thought to what an innings limit would look like for him, given what he was able to do in minor leagues, because those were less stressful?
Right. Yeah, we've been kind of bouncing around numbers a little bit. And once we come to that number, then we'll probably have to try and map it out as best we can. You know, it's a little bit easier if he doesn't make the club and he starts the season at AAA, and we can map it out a lot easier there. And then once he's ready to transition to the big leagues, if he is, then yeah, we'll just go from there.
You guys built a bullpen. It seems like Brock was going to be an important piece.
Yeah.
What do you make of how he ended the season? It was an up and down year for him, but it seemed like he figured something out. Was it a confidence thing, you think, in the end?
I think so, and his fastball came back at the end a little bit, but everybody, you know, relievers tend to go this way a lot just because of you know, they have a rough outing and then they lose a little confidence, start thinking about it, and then it takes sometimes a while to get back to the top. And when he ended the season last year, and his performance in the World Series was really good, and I think we can build on that.
It's like, do you see him as someone who can
No doubt. Yeah, I really do. I really do.
Of the Gary, Abel, and Peter Trea, is there any one of those who could maybe eliminate the roster?
I think your best bet is probably Painter. I think the other two guys are a little bit behind. Not that they're not going to pitch in the big leagues at some point, possibly this year, but I think the guy that we're looking at to possibly make this roster come out of spring is Painter.
You said you don't really know. You've never seen him pitch. You don't know too much about him. Have you started to ask people about him?
Oh yeah, and we don't even have to ask because they just tell you how good this guy is and the makeup and the intangibles and the athleticism and all that stuff. And I've been watching a little bit of tape, and it's real, you know. Now we have to be careful and make sure that we don't rush him too soon, don't overwork him, you know, because it's a different level of tension and anxiety from AA to the AA to spring training in the big leagues, and then regular season in the big leagues, completely different. So we'll see how it works.
Is there anything you can do to ease that transition?
Not really. I think, you know, we'll find out what it looks like in spring training, so that's the next level. And then if it looks good and he pitches well and he looks comfortable, then, you know, maybe there's a shot that he makes our club.
What do you make of his command? It seems like, especially for a young guy, he's really, that's an area of strength for him.
Yeah, it's a good delivery, it's clean, it's consistent, and he tends to be able to throw the ball where he wants. So it's really good.
Given, you know, what you have internally with Painter and Falter and Sanchez, would you be good with, you know, one addition to the rotation, or you feel like you need more than that? I mean, how do you sort of look at how the innings?
I think if we get one, that would be enough. And if we don't get one, then I think we'll be covered anyway, because you do have Falter, you do have Sanchez, you do have those three guys that are coming. But I think one would be probably enough.
Rob, it's your first off season as a manager.
Mm-hmm.
Are there things that you're sort of on your to-do list that you didn't get to during the season that you'd like to sort of?
Yeah, being at home. We've been on the road quite a bit. Yeah, and I like sitting in my chair and watching hockey games and things like that. I haven't been able to do that. So
Anything organizationally you'd like to implement as your regime is extended, I guess?
no, I kind of like it. You know, I like to travel and I like to, you know, talking to people and zooming with free agents, potential Phillies. It's exciting. It's something I've never really done before, not on this level anyway. So it's been good. A lot, you know, especially the pitch clock, because guys have to get used to that timing of what it's like, you know, the 18 seconds or whatever it is. So I think, just talking to Caleb, one of the things that we'll talk about or do is during bullpen sessions have clocks on guys. You know, they have these buzzer clocks in Clearwater. And during BP sessions do the same thing, just so that, you know, obviously they're not going to be penalized, but they get that inner clock, if you will, of how much time they have to get the ball back, reset their mind, reset their focus. Okay, here's my sign. Now I go into, you know,
Do you think the
my delivery.
sort of relievers might be most affected by that? Because some of those guys take a lot of time because they need the time between pitches.
I think the guys that take the most time will be most affected. I mean, you know, just common sense, I think. But you know, some relievers are, you know, they work fast, and some work slow. So.
How much differently will managers have to navigate a game with something? I mean, you know, you've got these bigger bases now, and you've got, you know, obviously the shift and how you play your defense, but how much does that change just your in-game and sort of how you think about how you want to manage a game?
I think the pitch clock is going to not necessarily affect me, but I'm going to be worried about it constantly because I see the clock and I see where the pitcher's at or where the hitter's at, and I'm like, you got to get going. But the shifting or the defensive positioning, I think people think that, okay, now you can't shift, and so I think there's going to be more emphasis on where you put those two guys on each side, and that's going to be critical, I think. So I think you really have to do a good job of looking at spray charts and things like that to make sure that rover, if you will, it's going to be either the shortstop or the second baseman is placed in the right spot on that side of the diamond.
One of the things other managers have said is that the running game, both from an offensive base runner standpoint, but also from a pitching standpoint,
The throwovers.
will be a real focus of the managers in particular.
Yeah.
Sort of how you're, maybe in spring training, talking to your pitchers about strategies for controlling the running game. Is that on your mind at all?
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be that's another main focus in spring training, and I've already talked to minor league managers that have been through this thing and what to look for, what to expect. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of conversation about it.
So with these rule changes, how about the schedule?
With
Going to different cities, listen to
I love it. I think it's the only way to do it. Have a balanced schedule because everybody's playing fairly. Like a lot of times with the interleague, one division would play a really weak division on the other side, and we're in the National League East, and we're beating each other up for 80 games, and one team doesn't get in because somebody in the National League Central, for example, is playing the weakest of the American League division. So I think it's fair, and I think it's the right way to do it.
Rob, as a guy who's coached and managed now in two real meat grinder divisions, how much do those division games take out of you? And now having instead of half your schedule is in division like a quarter.
Yeah, it's a lot, because when I was with the Yankees, everybody in that division was beating each other up, and now it's the same thing in the National League East right now. So it takes a lot out of you, and I think having to play a few less division games will help, but also everybody plays the same amount of games against everybody else is going to help.
As look for spots in the playoffs and even at the end of the season to maybe protect Marsh against lefties. Do you see him as your everyday guy going into season to see a guy who you expect to take that step into that step?
Yeah, I think we'll probably, have Veerling facing some of the tougher lefties for sure. But I think as time goes on, Brandon Marsh is going to be able to hit both sides, left-handed pitching and right-handed pitching. I really do. He made so many strides with K. Long last year. He spread them out, made it simple, and he actually did have some at-bats against left-handed pitching, did pretty well. So, I don't really see that as that much of a problem moving forward.
We talked a lot in October about how so many of your players had never been in the postseason. Can you just give us a sense of how tiring it is to play that extra month of baseball and sort of how guys were feeling by the end?
Yeah, I think guys were tired, but Houston was tired too. They didn't play as many playoff games as we did, but everybody gets tired. But I think once you sit back for a couple of weeks and re-energize, I think they'll be ready to go. And there's some things I want to talk about in spring training. One being expectations, high expectations, and that's a good thing because it means you're probably pretty good, and you got to deal with that. And then also something that I'm not really too concerned about because our players have now gotten a taste and they want it again, is the complacency side of it, making sure that people come in and if you get off to a slow start, they go, we did this last year, don't worry about it, we'll be all right. That doesn't always happen. So we got to make sure that we're healthy and ready to go from day one.
Have you watched any of the postseason games back?
Well, I had to do a thing today with, I don't know who the film, MLB Network, about game one, because it was one of the top 10 games. And I said to Kevin, I said, I got to watch the game again because I can't really remember, every little detail. And it was a great game after I watched it.
What did you forget when you were watching it back? What were you like, holy shit, I can't believe that happened? You have to transcribe that, sorry.
there was some pitching moves that we made that I kind of forgot about, like taking Nola out after 4 1/3 to get Alvarado through the Tucker, Alvarez Tucker pocket. There was the base hit that Castellanos got to get our first run during the comeback. The catch that Castellanos made in right field, like how I forgot that, I don't know, but all those games kind of run together, you know. And once I went back and looked at it, I was like, now I see why it was a good game.
You took pride in keeping the lineup pretty consistent over the course of last season, especially the top of the lineup. Is that something you're going to try to do again?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I just think players respond to it. They like it. They like the consistent part of it. They know where they're going to hit every day, who's hitting in front of them, who's hitting behind them. And, you know, I tend to try not to outthink things. You know, just get something that you like and stay with it until it breaks, and then you got to adjust. Good. He did. Congratulations, Kevin.
That won't make
And
the makeup, right?
you weren't there for the speech?
Did you give a speech?
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, you are a communications expert.
yeah.
I respect nothing less.
It was really good.
Yeah, we're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yo soy Alex Romero de los Dodgers Mumbai de Arizona, los invito a seguir con la máquina deportiva.
Un saludo a todos los televidentes de la máquina deportiva de parte de Alex Cora de los Mets de Nueva York.
Anderson Hernández, un saludo para la máquina deportiva de parte del menor, de Borré.
Mi nombre es Juan Carlos Gutiérrez de la Arizona Diamondbacks y lo invito a que sigan con la máquina deportiva.
Hola, le habla Nación de los Toronto Blue Jays, un saludo para la máquina deportiva.
Pero ríete bien.
Estás con Nelson Figueroa con la máquina deportiva. Ay, un Escobar aquí, un saludo para la máquina deportiva.
Aquí le saluda Pedro Feliciano, un saludito para la máquina deportiva.com.
Un saludo para toda la audiencia de la máquina deportiva, José Bautista de Toronto Blue Jays.
Máquina deportiva. Mi gente, le habla David Ortiz de la Boston Red Sox. Un saludo a esa fanaticada que sigue la máquina deportiva como siempre. Para encima y que Dios lo bendiga.
¿Qué tal, amigos? Les habla Joan Santana, un saludo bien grande para todos mis amigos de la máquina deportiva.